think the only rightful greeting to you guys is Isa Cup Namde. We can
Namdu.
Namdu.
Namdu,
Namdu.
oh Namdu,
Yes.
Okay, let's
but
do it
even
like they did on the scale of a count of three, two, one. Isala
Sala Cup
Up.
Namdu.
Namdu. Oh,
Oh.
It feels so good to say it. Honestly, I never thought we would be saying it anytime soon. And we're gonna get really into the match like we always do with the how it went down. But I think we must start with this. Just tell us what it means to you, one by one. This is the moment that we've been waiting for 18 long seasons. Yeah, Rahul.
ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ ಗುರು? Um, I mean, it's just every emotion known to man that extends beyond sporting achievements, greatness, heartbreaks, the ups and downs of everything that comes with life and sport. I think we've gone through it. I don't think there's been a situation that we as fans have not faced. I don't think there are words that have been spoken by the teams that we haven't heard. Um, every deep wound that was salted has truly sort of come about to what it is today. And it's just special. Because you think about it, right? You know it was eventually going to happen, but you just didn't know how you would react to it when it did happen or how it would feel when it did happen. And when it all has transpired now, it's just an amazing sense of like gratitude. And I think RCB, they themselves wrote something on their Instagram, and I really like, gravitate with that. And it's, it was patience was powerful. It wasn't passive, right? Like, I think there's been so many lessons that we have learned. We'll go into that. And it's just about loyalty. It's just about sticking together, and it's just like a victory for everyone involved.
Well said. Deepak?
Yeah, so I mean, I could go on seemingly for an hour about this, but I'll keep this short. It's a great feeling. It's been a long journey. Obviously, the 18 years, the whole length of the IPL, literally from the first match of the IPL in 2008 against KKR up until now. And, a lot has changed, a lot has come and gone. There's been a lot of downs, some highs too, but the downs just hadn't quite been able to get over that hump, especially, like I would say, yeah, like early to mid 2010s ish, and then fell off for a little bit. But really, I would say, in a way, it's easy to say now, but I would say in the past 5 years or so, with Mike Hess and then Andy Flower, the change in leadership, the culture, it had sort of, in my opinion, been building steadily toward this. We had basically finished, I believe, top five in the table every year except one in the whole 2020s decade. And so it's just, a special feeling, and, not to totally toot my own horn, but I would say one person who was very optimistic and called my shot on March 18th, when the season started on March 22nd, that we were going to win the IPL in that Sala Cup Namde, where I wasn't trying to, troll or be funny or anything. I truly meant it. I saw the team that we had. I believed in them, truly did, in the potential in every single phase of the game, everything you need, every box you need to check to win this tournament. I felt like we checked, and I'm just so proud of the guys. They all delivered. Players, DK, Andy Flower, Mo Baba, just Vijay Mallya, whoever else you want to thank, the fans, the players, everyone. It's just been a heck of a journey, and I'm so glad that we were able to pay it off, and get the title. So it just means everything.
Amazing, amazing. I want to take it from there, and Dad, as the oldest RCB fan, can take us home on this. But I was not as optimistic as Deepak. I'm never as optimistic as Deepak when it comes to sports. So for me, like, I'm proud of RCB. I'm proud of the fans. I'm proud of the home stadium being one of the best environments. I'm proud of everything that really has to do with RCB top down. But Rahul will know this, and Dad too. I needed like this validation that all of it was for something that we can also have the trophy one day. And, you know, we can say all we want that, like, we're so, which we are loyal, we are passionate, we are, you know, I'm biased, obviously, but I think we're the best fans in the IPL and we have the most Instagram followers. But ultimately, like, the sport is about winning. Any sport is about winning. So to have the trophy attached to all of what we already had is like the peak happiness for me. And then you get into the players, and like Gale wasn't able to win one. ABD, who is like king, one of the kings in Bangalore, couldn't win one. And it was starting to feel like we would go all of maybe the best Indian batsman's career ever on RCB and not win one. And that would just add to the punchline that we get a lot of trolling from other fan bases. And that was starting to get to me over time. And now that we have a trophy, it really makes RCB feel that much more special. And gratitude is the best word that Rahul used. That's what I have. You know, in my head I built up like, okay, when we win the trophy, I'm gonna say this, and this to all of the haters or like the other fans of teams that have trolled us. But really, none of that came into my brain. None of that came into my heart. I'm just seriously so happy that we were able to do it with Virat on the team.
So, being the oldest fan of RCB in this group, it was all about bottled up emotion for 18 years. And we knew it was going to win one day. I mean,
I didn't. You
Yeah.
guys say that. I did not know we were going to win.
No,
I'm
no, we're
serious.
going to win one time,
I
but
definitely felt like,
Yeah.
I definitely felt
When
like
was the
we'd win
question?
eventually, yeah. And I don't know if it was going to be 2 years or
yeah,
like
so
3 years,
you
but
know, in baseball, you have Babe
I
Ruth's
felt like we were
curse,
close. We just couldn't.
which took decades, and for us to get back to the finals, it took 9 years. It took Ronaldo or Messi just before they retired to win a cup. I mean, in sports, it's a lot of patience, and then years or even decades, and you have to be patient, and that's for the loyal fans of RCB. Same goes. And then I was very worried that Gale couldn't win, ABD couldn't win. I'm glad that they were here to see Virat win because time was running out for Virat. I would say 2 years because we don't know. And with 10 team franchise right now, it's so hard to win, let alone get into the top four. When it was only eight, people could get into playoffs with their decent team. Now, even if you're a very good team, even to try to get to the top four is very difficult. So it's not the question of, you know, there's so many factors, as we know when we follow sports: injury, non-availability. Then we had the brief interruption because of the conflict. And then, you know, thanks to the armed forces, everything, you know, there was resumption of play, which may never have happened. You know, they had to shorten in COVID. So there's so many factors. Personally, I don't understand what the others who don't follow sports or who don't never played sports is how good of how passion is to the sports fan in other areas of your life, and they just don't get it. That's the most important part I wanted to make. And the monkey's off the back finally, and we have won once, and I knew we were going to do it, but I also never thought it's going to come so early. And it was a huge ride to the season. I think the strategy of changing from top three to utility 11 players, I think eventually paid off. And I'm happy to talk about it. And I will end this by, I was talking to my niece Manasa today, and then one of her colleagues texted that we had so many memes for the past 18 years, it could fill one whole data center. That's how much memes we had. And to get over that and win one, that's a lot.
Yeah. I think that moment was a big deal and our dissection of that moment can never do justice to what we actually felt in that moment. We did our best, but we saw the celebrations the night of and the Twitter clips at MG Road, and we saw the stat about how much liquid was consumed in Bangalore that night and the money that was made. So, we are just trying to put into words what this means, but really we know that it's hard to do. And RCB Nation, whatever you felt, I mean, it's something that's probably unforgettable for all of you. We're just trying to share in that. But we should talk about how it actually happened, because we did play a final and we did think we were going to lose for, I would say, at least half the match, probably 60-70% of the match, the way it went. So I want to make this very simple because everybody knows what happened in the final. But let's just talk about the first innings and the second innings. The first innings, I always felt we were behind the 8-ball. We were always behind that run, a 10 run rate per over. We were always behind 200 when we were hoping for 215 or even beyond that, because all the commentators, I hate to say this, but Matthew Hayden, dude, you got to talk about something else. He just would not shut up about, oh my God, we need to hit 2 boundaries and over. We're so far behind. We've left so many runs out there. He was so annoying, and it was getting to me that we were so far behind the game. But it was a very apt batting performance for how the season has went. Top score of 43, still putting up 190. And so, Deepak, tell me what was going through your head during the batting innings.
Yep. So I would definitely pretty much agree. It was a very stressful innings, not exactly how we thought it would go, especially seeing how the Ahmedabad pitch had been, very high scoring throughout the whole year. Even, just seeing qualifier one where both teams scored above 200, and so it just definitely felt like we were behind the 8-ball. Definitely, Matthew Hayden just kept beating it on about that certain point, including after the innings. It's like, oh, I think they're about 30 runs behind. They 10 runs behind in each phase, something like that he was saying. And so it was definitely, making me nervous, but it was just like you said, it definitely represented our inning, like our team overall in terms of the fact that basically everybody scored anywhere from 15 to about 45 runs, with like Shepard 17 to Kohli 43. Everyone else kind of fell in between, and so it wasn't the flashiest batting innings, but it did the job done. But I think we'll get to it in the second innings. The big takeaway from this match was the dot ball percentage that we took as opposed to what Punjab took, where that, because everything else I was seeing from the stats at the end of the match looked pretty even, runs in each phase, boundaries, etc. But you see the dot ball percentage, it was only 23 for RCB, and then it was almost 40%, 39 to be exact, for Punjab. And so even though we weren't necessarily hitting boundaries or scoring 10 and over, we were still rotating the strike and still, tacking runs on the board. And in the final, those details, they all add up. And obviously, in the end, it worked out in our favor.
Nice. That's a good stat. I didn't know that. Dad?
The utility of all the players, including Livingstone. I saw Jitesh Sharma play those 2 shots. One of them was pretty amazing shot. I think full credit to DK for actually pushing him beyond his limits, which Jitesh himself has said that he has got these new shots. And I think it was a team performance. I thought 190 was also below par, but not too far, because I knew this is finals. Whatever anybody else says, there is a pressure of the finals. 200 would be nice, but 190 was still hoping that we can defend it. And I think I will also take what Deepak has said, bowlers win championships, and that's what happened in the second innings. But sticking to the first innings, look, you put up a decent total and then fight for it, and that's what we did. Again, it was a decent performance, 190. Yes, everybody expected 200, 210, 225, but 190 was not too far, and then you had a chance. That's what I felt at the end of the innings.
Rahul?
Yeah, can't add much to that. I mean, you talk about how the game is advanced and, the tactics are different and whatnot, but we go back to like the basics, right? It's a final. You put up a good score. That scorecard pressure will always stay on. And I think 2 things that really defined for me, we've talked about how we we start off, we don't do well as we want to, and we reassess our targets along the way. And I think RCB has done well to shut out the outside noise this season and just kind of say, like, listen, we're not going to panic. We did panic for a couple of matches, and it was very apparent that we did, and we didn't do so well in those games. But we didn't panic, right? We didn't have a great, power play. We didn't have a great 6 to 11 overs. I think we could have just easily crumbled to 150, 160 total. But I think everyone just, chipped in, and everything, all the points we've made so far is about a team play. It's about how many matches that we have gotten over the course of the season. And I think that's justified in terms of how it has all culminated to the final where everyone chipped in. Even if you got that little boundary to ease the pressure, that still made a major impact in like the overall morale. It made an impact in terms of like how momentum shifted. But at the end of the day, like they stuck to the basics. They did what they needed to do. They got it. They got a decent score. I mean, Matthew Hayden with his yellow suit can say whatever he wants. I mean, it's with still 190. And when we talk about the second innings, we'll talk about how each wicket just added that little bit more pressure.
Yeah.
Keeps building and keeps building. It's the final. It's the final. You still have to make that score.
I like what you said about what we did to learn from past matches and not panic, because we've been on here for at least 2 or 3 post matches, and we've just been so frustrated that we're 40 for 4, 100 for 6, and which is like, what the hell happened? We were shooting our sights way high, and then we ended up losing the match before we even had a chance to let the bowlers, who are our strong suit this season, do the work. So I want to hand out special credit to Mayank for stabilizing. That was, I think, key 24 of 18 there to kind of get the score above 50-60 before the loss of the second wicket. Bhaktidar, he looks good, man. I think the finger did heal in the last 2 matches. I think that from LSG match on, he played really well. He just got out at the wrong time, and honestly, he got a good ball from Jameson. But he played his role to perfection. Those 26 off 16 runs were very valuable to keep the impetus going. Same thing with Livingston. I want to especially credit him. Terrible season, came through in the final, and those 25 runs were very important to the end result. And then the most credit, I think, goes to Jitesh Sharma. He came in with and gave the impetus for us to get 190 when we were staring at maybe 170 the whole time. And just like Dad said, DK has given him the ability to hit boundaries so early, within the first 5 balls that he faces. I think he did extraordinary work to come in and take us up to that total. And people are going to make fun of me for saying this, but I want to give Virat credit because he was under immense pressure in the final with the run rate not being that high and him struggling to find any rhythm. But I swear to you, if he got out 20 balls earlier, we would have gotten all out. I just felt it. I don't know that this would have happened, but I feel like the other batters would have been under a lot of pressure had Kohli gotten out before the score is 131, my opinion. But he really laid anchor, and it was a slow anchor. He could have played a lot better, but I think it was vital to hold innings together. So 190 on the board. Yeah, go ahead, Deepak.
Sorry, just one quick note about the batting. Not so much, maybe we can get into it with the catch later, but Phil Salt, major respect to him, because I was staying up until 2 a.m. There were reports that he wasn't going to play. He wasn't even in India, and I was like, what's going on? I kept refreshing. I was panicking. And then a report on Cricket Info came out at 3 p.m. It's like, oh, actually, he did leave the country for the birth of his child. Came back just in time for the final, was in Ahmedabad airport at 3 a.m., came back for the match. And so obviously he didn't have his greatest innings, still chipped in 16. Obviously the catch we'll get into later, which was obviously a huge turning point. But I just wanted to bring that up because, yeah, shout out to him among everything else we said in regards to the first inning.
Good point.
Can't believe I forgot that. He is an RCB legend for even showing up to play in the match. And
Yes.
The fact that he hit 3 boundaries, 16 runs when the margin of victory was 8 runs, and that catch, which we'll get into shortly, is major credit to Trooper, really Trooper. So
Well, the background is, I'll just make it very brief. He came from KKR, which won last year,
Mhm.
And he came to RCB and said, well, I was there, but I had no friends. Do you remember that?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That
So,
speaks to the culture of the team.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you only want to come back from the birth of your child so soon when the team culture is good and you want to do it for the team. So
Great. Yeah.
he
Now he's
deserves,
got Virat.
well,
Yeah.
that too. White boyfriend,
Yeah.
right?
White
Shout
boyfriend,
out to
right?
great
That's
cricketer.
it.
Shout out to the great cricketer. Yeah.
Faf and ABD are out. It's all
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
The newbie.
All right, so 190 on the board. Let's get into the second innings. We come out and the first 2 overs are rough. They go for about 20 runs. Bhuvaneshwar starts off with a little bit of bowling down the leg side, and a lot of us must have been thinking, here we go again at that point. It's a second innings in Ahmedabad. There could be dew. There wasn't today, but it could be settling in, and they could chase this with ease. We're a little bit under par. We lost again, and I'm sure some people were thinking that. From overs 3 through 6 in the power play, I thought we bowled exceptionally well, not only to take the wicket of Priyancharya with that super catch, but also to keep the run rate down and only get out with a score of about 50 in the power play. And I think that was tremendous job by Josh Hazelwood and Yash Dayal to keep the match in check at that point, because if they had gone 70 or 80 from the power play, there's no way we could have pulled it back. So now let's talk about that super catch. Deepak, I know you've been chomping at the bit. Tell me what was going through your head then.
Yep. So, well, firstly, what made it even more special is you got to go back a little bit. Josh Hazelwood bouncer to Simran Singh goes right to Romario Shepherd, right in his hands, drops it, and then that was really the moment where I wouldn't say I thought we were going to lose, but that was the most in doubt I was about the match. I was like, man, it may not really be our day. Like it's just all falling apart. This is bad. This just feels like 2016 and 2009, 2011 all over again, etc. And I was so scared. I was like, bro, you can't drop that, man. It's right in your hands. But for that sitter and then for Salt to be able to get um Brian Shaw and then Hazelwood getting rewarded in the end, just an unbelievable catch, unbelievable spatial awareness where he's on the boundary, knows not to step over, step on it, throws it back in, steps out, comes back in a high leverage situation like that. Obviously, with all the fans, the crowd being obviously vast majority RCB fans, for him to make that catch in that moment, I feel like it was a huge turning point, and it really that was the start of their sort of their run rate slowing down in those 4 to 6 overs with Hazelwood and Dayal, and then obviously afterwards with Krunal Pandya and his exceptional spell. So I think that it created a domino effect where that catch led to us getting the momentum and then fully being able to capitalize it afterward.
And I think that catch, you could see it in the team's eyes. It really galvanized the team. Like, whoa, wait, we can do this. We can actually do this. It's okay that we dropped Simran Singh a couple overs ago. That was like catches win matches, but special catches can lift the morale of the team. And Rahul, you've been on this all season. The morale of the team, even through very difficult situations, has been exceptional. What was going through your head during that catch and afterward?
I think during the time it's just like just get it in, just make sure you're not stepping anything, hopefully third umpires, just kind of see it our way, because so many times these decisions have gone against us. It's not just once, it's not just, I'm not pointing fingers per se, but things in sports, sometimes luck needs to go your way. And I think that catch was, sort of that point where you just felt, could this be it? And you always knew in a stiff chase, you get one wicket, you're really sort of back in, right? You feel like, all right, we made some inroads. One brings two, two brings three, and you always have that feeling going. And I think the whole team had that. But it is also important to back it up with the next few overs. And I think after that, Papinan was suffocated. He didn't get easy runs out. He was trying to scoop. He was trying to lap. He really didn't, time any of those balls. He didn't get any boundaries away. And I think Yashayal in that phase was very critical. I mean, you rely on Hazelwood to come through. which he did. But you need the backing in the other end, and I think Yashchaiol did just that. That was critical moving into the next phase where, Rapa just got in Krunal at like the most clutch moment possible. And we can dissect that a little bit further too, but just, good captaincy, just calm captaincy.
Yeah.
You can see everybody, as you said, galvanized. You can see Virat being absolutely animated like he usually is. Not Rajat Patidar. I think his captaincy has been underrated to a great extent. He kept his calm. It's not easy to captain Virat Kohli and Hazelwood. I mean, like for largely an uncapped Indian player, right? I mean, yes, I know he's been given the cap, but like a largely inexperienced international player, to captain a side with such superstars and to still hold your own and make decisions that are game changing is an absolute talent.
Yeah.
To think that he was and basically a substitute for an injury, and and he's now the captain and the only RCB captain to win the IPL. It's insane. Stuff of dreams, really. But
Yeah.
I think that was very critical there. Like you could easily just drop shoulders, drop your heads, and things can go south real soon. But kudos to the team to kind of keep that morale going, keep that momentum straight. I think that was critical.
So speaking of backing up, I think that a lot of the season we've talked about Krunal and Suyash coming in tandem, and we've talked about Rajat kind of setting the field, getting us through the middle overs. That's been a real strong point of our team this season. So, Dad, I want you to talk about our boy Krunal because he, I think, was a deserving man of the match in the IPL final, and his spell was nothing short of spectacular. So, what is it about that guy, man? He doesn't have big turn. He doesn't even have the wrong one. It's just it spins one way. He just has a little bit of pace variation. He's annoying. He stops in the middle of his action to see where the batter's going. He's all guts, man. He's all heart, all guts. So talk about him.
His name is KC Pandya, Krunal Clutch Pandya. Seriously, he backs himself. Number one, he's a very street smart player. He's always under the shadow of his brother Hardik because he plays for the national team. But this guy reads the pitch, reads the condition, reads the mind of the players. He's almost like a Ashwin in test, where you're always trying to feel the pitch, feel the players. It takes a lot of guts to bowl slower ones as a spinner when you're defending 190 in 2025, which is not a big score. Still consider that this is a final. So 4 overs for 17 runs for 2 wickets. It's an amazing, electrifying performance. I think kudos to him. He backs himself. He reads the condition. He gets into the mind of the batsman. He keeps them second guessing. Those are all his strong attributes. Yes, he's not a great spinner. He just variation, and then this time it was the slower balls. He was like bowling 70s and 60s, 70s and 80s, and it takes a lot of guts to do that because you get back for 3 sixes and that's over. Then you start bowling, fast and go on the defensive. And I think after the Phil Salt catch, which most people say it was a turning point in the game, you just have to follow up with some other performance, and it was no question. Krunal came through, and then obviously somebody's going to talk about Bhuvaneshwar. I think he was clutch too in the end.
Before we get to Bhuvaneshwar, the middle phase where from 43 for 1 until the Bhuvaneshwar 2-wicket over, that was the game for me. That was when the game was in the balance, and 2 wickets of Prabh Simran, which Dad, you nailed that. It was a very slow ball. He could sense Prabh Simran was just going to swing as hard as possible because he was feeling the pressure. Dragged the length back, bowled it really slow. I think the pressure got to Prabh Simran. He got him. But the Josh Inglis wicket was spectacular thinking because he was looking dangerous. It didn't matter what pace was being bowled, slow, fast, short, full. He, especially for short balls, he was on top of it. And the ball that he got the wicket that he got out to off of Brunel, he could have hit that for six. He knew he could have hit that for six, but it was the pace that made it a very difficult shot to execute. And full credit to Liam Williamson for taking that catch. I think that was the biggest turning point. People will argue Phil Saul catch. People will argue the Shreyas Iyer wicket. But I think that Josh English catch, on that day, he was looking super threatening. We saw him do it to Mumbai a few matches ago where he just took apart everyone, Bumrah, Trent Boult. So full marks to Krunal. And you nailed it with the clutch comment also. Second man of the match in IPL final. That is not a small feat by any means. So Krunal Pandya, man, RCB legend forever. Now, yes, sir. I want you to talk about Deepak, the Romario Shepherd over, because you and I were furious that he was getting the bowling and not even Hazelwood at that point or Booby or one of the regular bowlers. So tell me why you thought Romario was such a dumb idea, and then tell me how happy you were when it worked out.
Yeah, no, it was a whirlwind of emotions. I was going through it, true roller coaster up and down. And, I just thought with, the way the match was going, I just felt like in a way they were trying to steal overs with Romario. And I didn't like it partially because I thought, Romario, he had a very up and down game. Like he had a couple boundaries, but then he dropped the catch and then he had given up a few boundaries with the ball. It had been pretty expensive, up until that point. And then my thinking was, Shreyas Iyer, you got to get him out the first 10, 15 balls. Because if you don't, you saw what happened in the Mumbai match. If you let him settle in, he can just take over and win the match. And to me, like the two turning points we talked about were obviously huge too. In my opinion, that was actually the turning point. That was the first time where I truly believed I saw, the light at the end of the tunnel. Once we got that wicket, I was going crazy that, this could really be happening. This is their captain. This is their leader. This is, Shreyas Iyer we're talking about. Obviously, 3 different finals, 3 different franchises. And to get that wicket after, especially me having criticized that move and different moves that Partidar had made throughout the game, but still liking his overall calm demeanor and things like that, it just really paid off. In a way, it kind of reminded me of like maybe Joginder Sharma 2007 T20 World Cup final, Ishant Sharma 2013 Champions Trophy final, where it's like no, yes. So it was truly a wide display of emotions, wide range, but it paid off. Hats off to Romario for sticking with it even after a very inconsistent game to obviously build on the unbelievable spell that Krunal had, and it was unreal. It was unreal.
Rahul, did you like the move at the time? Be honest. Romario Shepherd bowling to
No.
new batter Shreyas Iyer.
Absolutely not. In hindsight's 2020, and you think about it, it's like an absolute masterstroke, right?
Yeah.
When it comes off, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And that could have easily gone the other way, and you would have like absolutely pummeled Rajat Pattar and going like, what were you thinking? Like, why was he your go-to bowler? And I don't know what the thought process was, but my thinking is when in these situations, Shreyas Iyer was expecting Hazelwood at him, right? Like there is that you walk in, you're like, you know what? As Deepak said, you get him out in the first 2 overs, you're game. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring your best bowler on. So because you didn't bring your best bowler on, because it's Romario Shepherd, does Shreyas Iyer get into this mindset of like, maybe I can go after this guy a little bit?
Yep.
And this is that, bring in that 6th bowler, bring in that 7th bowler attitude where you're not getting the breakthrough because, you're going to induce a false shot. Maybe that's what it was with Shreyas. It's hard to know what exactly was going through, but in hindsight, you could be playing more defensive and keeping Hazelwood for the end overs, and that's, how you feel it. You feel it with Romario Shepherd. Brilliant, really. But at the same time, you have to think about, what these small little milestones do the shaping these young players moving forward, right? We talk about like it's just not about this year; it's about how we turn up next year, right? I mean, are we just like a one-time pony, or are we going to repeat some of these things in the years to come? These moments shape how Rajat captains because it tells him you can back your instincts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It tells him like, you know what, the management's backed me up. I got it right. I may not always get it right, but I got it right this time, and that resulted in a cup.
Yeah.
And so maybe I should trust my instincts a little bit more. And I think that's truly what it kind of comes down to.
Couple things for why I think he may have gone to Romario that over. That was the 10th over of the match. So you had already gone through 2 overs of your frontline seamers. You had gone through 2 overs of Kernal, 2 overs of Suyash, 1 over of Suyash, I think. And if they had, we were all screaming, bring back Hazelwood, Hazelwood, Hazelwood. But if they had gone to Hazelwood, he would have only had one left. And if you don't get the wicket, then it really, really puts you in a bind in the back end, juggling some of your death bowling. Now, Romario has a natural back of the length ball that Shreyas Iyer doesn't really like. He's also very comfortable against spin. So I think that they didn't want to go to Suyash either because Shreyas will easily get into a rhythm. Plus, they wanted a sixth bowler to at least put the thought into the Punjab batters' minds. Who's going to bowl the next? Who's going to bowl the next? Who's going to bowl the next? Because if you keep going with your main bowlers, if they waited 3, 4 more overs, you can't bring Romario in the 14th over, or the 15th over. And then they know what's coming and they can calculate who they want to go after. So they did try to steal an over, like Deepak said, but it was also calculated in that it's the type of bowling that Shreyas doesn't like. And that ball that got him out was back of a length. And if he has a weakness right now, that's what it is. Playing off the back foot and trying to force square of the wicket. So, you know, we can say it's a master stroke now, but I think he would have done it even if he didn't get the wicket. He would have been able to get out of that Romario over economically. And in the end, I think it truly was a master stroke.
And the last point about Patidar and the dice rolling calculated. If you remember earlier in the season, Suyash came on to bowl against Andre Russell. We are all like, what? You're going to get this kid to Andre Russell? And then he bowls a googly and he gets out. So, you know, he does take some calculated risk.
Yes.
Patidar.
He does. And he does play the matchups and he does back his instinct, and it's great to see because he's very like, you know what, I'm going to do this. If it doesn't work, yeah, he's willing to live with it. And I just love that attitude.
Yes.
Same.
From the, let's say, 14th over, the match was, I would say, still in the balance. They needed a lot, but off the 6 overs, they needed a little over 12 runs and over, which can easily be done. We've seen it be done in Ahmedabad, especially. It's not easy in a final, but they were still batting deep. They had 2 specialist batters out there. Then comes the Bhuvaneshwar over, and Dad, I want to turn this over to you. He gets Nehal Wadera on a cleverly bowled outside the off stump, inducing a false shot. Stoinis comes in, hits maybe the shot of the match off the first ball that he plays. Easy 6 over extra cover. And at that point, again, I was getting very negative. I was like, no, man, no. This guy looks like he's about to bop 40 off 10 balls and go full Jitesh LSG mode here. And then he slices one to short third man. Yazdale takes the catch. What was going through your head throughout that over?
Stoinis is a very dangerous player. He's also like when he gets going, there's no way to stop him. If you remember with Stoinis and Matthew Wade against Pakistan in Dubai, they were 96 for 5 chasing 180 or 190. And then, of course, Matthew Wade did the last rights. But before that, Stoinis was, in control. So he's a very dangerous player. So I was worried. Yes, they bat deep. Vadera didn't have the best in terms of timing, but he's always a dangerous player. So Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, for having bowled so, he came back strong. In fact, if you remember in 2016, he came back. He and Mustafizur actually and won the match for SRH against Bangalore. So
Yeah.
this time he came through for us, bowling those clever outside the off stump, wide outside the off stump. Both wickets were very cleverly bowled. And when Stoyonis got out, you saw his reaction, and that summed up the reaction for Punjab.
Yeah.
Meaning that, oh my God, we are done. We have never displayed that ever in any of the players. That's the mindset thing. Again, I'm coming back to is, even if Virat gets out, we have never been flustered, which we used to all the time. Just like Tendulkar got out for like a decade, we were like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
So that's never been the case. So when Stoyanis got out and saw his reaction, that's probably the time when AB de Villiers left his commentary box and came down.
Yeah. I think that time he was 142 for 6. The equation was 49 off 20 balls. If you have 6 or 7 wickets in hand, man, that's easy.
That's
That's
easy. Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah.
But they were 6 down and they only had 4 wickets left. And
Yeah.
when Stoinis got out, I'll be honest, I subconsciously, like I knew it wasn't over till it was over, but I felt like we can't like lose from here. Like I felt like, oh my God, this is the IPL victory, especially when he slammed the bat because he believed that he was going to win it for them. And the way he was hit that first ball, I really thought he could do it.
Yeah.
So full marks to Bhuvneshwar for executing that outside the off stump plan, first to a lefty, then to a righty. The next 3 overs from 17 to 20, man, it was literally like having open heart surgery, like no anesthesia. It was just like, dude, can we just get singles and just bowl these balls and finish? So, I don't think the match was as close as the final score says.
Agreed.
But even so, when the equation was 29 off 4 balls, I was still calculating if this guy hits a no ball 6 like yesterday to Shivam Dubey, can we still win? So it was like I felt like we had won, but I was calculating all the worst scenarios in my head every ball, and finally we got home. So I want to end on this. When that last ball was bowled and Shashank hit that clean 6 over extra cover, it didn't matter. And there was no ball noise that came after that because I waited 5 seconds to make sure that wasn't the case. What was your we just won the IPL instant reaction? I'll start with you, Rahul.
Relief. Just, it's almost like when you had a really bad cold and you forgot how it was like to breathe easily, and then you finally get that back. That's how it felt. It just felt relief. So light. I don't know. I wanted to feel this energy, this frustration, this outward emotion of justification for being a fan for this. It was just relief and gratitude.
That's actually exactly what I was pacing around in a room. There was a chair. I like held the chair and I just got onto my knees and I was just like, and I just took like 10 seconds of like, wow, we really did this. And I wasn't like screaming or yelling. I was just like so overcome with happiness. And I was just being a sponge and absorbing the moment. So it was truly unforgettable. What was your instant reaction, Deepak?
Yeah, I mean, same as you guys. I thought, if we had won, I would be more like, "Oh, let's go, we did it, yeah!" But like, I was just smiling from ear to ear to ear, just relief, monkey off the back, and it would. I just those last few balls, obviously, obviously credit to Hazelwood where he didn't have his best day even with the over before to Shashank. He gave up, I believe, 17, but then the last over he bowled the 2 balls that he had to bowl, and he just made sure that no matter what happened, he didn't give them any reason to get back in terms of life, in terms of a no ball or anything, even when Shashank was hitting it all over the place with those last 4 balls. But it was just one of those things, even going back to like I was just the last few balls, assuming we were gonna win, just kind of picturing my whole life until that point of like different RCB moments, both good and bad, over the years that I've been a fan since I would say like 2013, 2014 onwards, I would say, is when I really got into it personally. So I would just say, yeah, all those things were going through my head. And just the fact that we have finally done it, and just immense pride. Immense pride.
Immense pride. Take us home, Dad.
So for me, you guys said relief, right? For me, it was release. Release of all the pent-up emotions for the past 18 years. And also I had to physically do it. I'll tell you how it happened. I was in Canada, Banff. I was with a bunch of my friends. I wore the t-shirt, on top of it, another shirt, on top of a light jacket, on top of a heavy jacket. Even my wife didn't know that I was wearing this because I was surrounded by somewhat some who followed cricket, RCB, some who didn't. But by the end of it, I had everybody following at least the scores, if not the game. And finally, when I won it, I just said, okay, I need to do the celebration. There was an Australian girl there working, and we got her to take the video. And she was going nuts. Okay, I know, Australia, we play cricket. I said, yeah, we have the hazel god, hazel goat. And then I started taking off each layer until it came this, and made everybody say RCB, RCB. For the rest of my life, I will never forget Lake Minnewanka in Canada.
Oh,
Because
wow.
that lake supposedly had the spirits, you know, locals, the local natives of the place think there are spirits in that lake. Those spirits were released that day, and that's what
Wow.
I felt. And I will never ever forget that in my life.
That is called going out with the bang, folks. That is the last word on this incredible first IPL season of this podcast. I want to say the heartiest thank you to all three of you, Rahul, Deepak, Dad. I want to say heartiest thank you to all of the guests that joined us throughout the season. We had so much fun, regardless of the result of win or loss, of following this season of the IPL, this edition of the IPL. And we could not be any happier that it ended this way. And just like Dad said, it's something that we will never forget for the rest of our lives. And I know that each one of you at RCB Nation who have followed us and watched episodes of this podcast feel the same. Thank you guys so much. We did it. Sala Cup Namdu. Love you guys.
Thank
Love you
you.
too.
Love you too.
Thank you, guys.
Always and forever.
RCB always and forever. I love that. I love that.